Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the July meeting of the Hong Kong Study Circle and the Hong Kong Philatelic Society's joint meeting, sponsored by the Federation of Inter-Asian Philatelic. Well, it's good to see so many of you, and we are lucky that the Typhoon Signal 8 has just dropped from Hong Kong. We have had a typhoon signal 8 today, most of today, and then I couldn't get back to my office because of the typhoon. But luckily, it is now signal 3, so I could actually come back to my office and meet with you all. So the meeting tonight this morning is actually show and tell. So you can actually members can actually show and tell, what they want to show and tell anyway. I have had several volunteers. Richard wants to show other things. Susan has something to show. I think Simon's got something to show. And just in case, if we still got a bit of time, and I'll be the last. So I think maybe actually Simon called me earlier today. So with Simon, before change, would you want to start first?
Okay, no problem. Yeah, as Andrew mentioned, if there was no typhoon today, I'm afraid I may not have time to prepare the presentation. Okay, yeah, as just mentioned, I did it in the afternoon today, and it was a quick one. And yeah, I do not have a lot of pages, just a simple quick one. Okay, let me share the screen. Right. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Today I'm going to talk about the skeleton type CDS in fact in two temporary post office, and I'm trying to compare the chops used on the different dates. Okay. Just a little bit of background. This skeleton type CDS used in Hong Kong is made of steel and 30 millimeter in diameter. And it consists of 26 creases along the rim for free composition of letterings. And in the middle, as you can see from the diagram, there are 2 rows. And the upper row is usually for insertion of AM, PM, a star, or other symbols, or in some cases, nothing. And the lower row is for the dates in the format of DD, MM, and YY. And the above information and the diagrams are referenced from the translated article, Skeleton Type CDS, translated by Charles Chen from the CPA newsletter number 472. Okay, this presentation is to deal with the question, how many skeleton type CDS were deployed during the whole period of the temporary post offices of the first one, University PO in 1961, and the Jamboree PO in 1961 to 1962. Let's start with the University PO. The date range of the TPO was from the 8th, the first day, to the 22nd. So I think it's not difficult to find examples on the various days. I have now 8, 11, 14, 19th, 20th, and the last date 22nd. Okay, I cut out the CDS and make them to the same size and proportion. And then I'm trying to compare them. Firstly, because of the middle row, the lower one for the dates, I suppose I will use it as an axis. So you can see that the 8th, the 11th, and 14th, and then the 19th, 20th, and the 22nd. Basically, the alignments, no matter it is the University PO or the Hong Kong at the bottom, They basically looks identical. Okay, and then I try to superimpose the images for the 8th and the 11th. So you can see that the overlapping, in fact, is quite good. So I would say that these two are of the same CDS. And then I try to compare the 8th and the 14th. Well, in fact, there are a little misalignment, but because of the fact that those letters inserted in the creatures are not tightened up, I suppose it's a little bit loose. So a little bit of misalignment it can be accepted or is expected. And then the first day and the last day, yeah, again, they look good. So I believe they are of the same CDS. Well, then it comes to a special occasion. On the 11th of September, there was an issuing of a new stamp, the University Golden Jubilee commemorative stamp. And also on that day, you can find many genuinely posted covers, including registered mails. And so are those CDS the same as the previous one? Okay, let me compare the 11th September on ordinary mail against the same date, but on registered mail, AM and PM. If we use the same two lines to align the date axis, you can see that basically the University PO and the Hong Kong letters, the alignments are quite identical, but the year, the 61, is a little bit different. For the ordinary mail, you can see the 61 is pointing a little bit downwards, while the registered mail type is pointing a little bit upward. And for the AM and PM, they look the same. And then I found another registered mail type, called type B. You can see that obviously the alignment of the University PO is different from the above. It was turned clockwise, I think, for one pitch. So because I suppose those letters were inserted into the CDS before the postal clerk or the postal officer carried them from GPO to the University PO. So I do not expect those letters were changed or put out and then inserted back again in the temporary post office. So they have to be different CDS. So this is the ordinary mail CDS and the registered mail type A CDS. The superimposing of the images will reveal that the alignment, especially the Kong of Hong Kong, the O and N, are not quite aligned, and also the year, the 61, for both types as mentioned, are different. So my conclusion for the 1961 University PO. There was one single skeleton CDS used throughout the period from the 8th to 22nd, and it was used for ordinary mails. And then on the 11th, because of the issue because of the first issue of the Hong Kong Golden Jubilee commemorative stamp, a huge crowd queuing for the first day covers and mails, either ordinary or registered, at that temporary PO was anticipated. So the GPO deployed additional CDS to support the event. And according to my comparison, two different types have been identified, and they are used for canceling of registered mails. And in fact, afterwards, that two different types have not been recorded after the 11th. So I suppose they were withdrawn after the first day of the stamp issue. Okay, then let me come to the Jumbo PO from 27 December 61 to 2nd of January 62. I have registered cover on the first day, 27, and then on ordinary or maybe just handbag covers, 29, and then 30th, January the 1st, and then January 2nd. Okay, I laid out all the CDS of the same size and then align them with two red lines. And you can see that except for the new year's lot 62, which is different from the 61, basically all the letters, the alignments, in fact, look identical. And then let's do some image superimposing. This is 27 against 29 for ordinary mail. Well, they aligned it perfectly. And then the first day against the last day, again, the alignment is perfect. And then this one, the ordinary mail versus the registered mail on the same date. And also the alignment is also perfect. So my conclusion for Jumbo PO is that only one skeleton type CDS was used. And a few remarks. Yeah, of course, that's at least one single skeleton CDS used throughout the period of a certain temporary post office, like the Jamboree or exhibition PO, etc. But for special occasions or events, the GPO will deploy additional CDS to support that event. And for temporary usage of the skeleton type CDS at branch post offices like Cheung, Sha Tin, Sai Kung, Many HK, Crewe, etc. Further studies are needed. And definitely, there were a number of skeleton type CDS used by the GPO. And some of them were used for a very prolonged period, like the Shamshui official paid in red, which was used for around 7 years, from 1958 to 1965. And this is the end of my presentation. And thank you for watching and listening.
Thank you. Right. So Simon, so I think there must be several of these skeleton CDS, around. So they were just issued whenever they are needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess for some larger branch post offices, and they might have more than one used on the first day. Say, for example, I don't know, I didn't do any comparison or analysis yet, like a Many HK or Sai Kung. I don't know. I guess that they might have more than one.
Yeah. Well, they must have ordered several of these skeleton chops and then put them in the big safe, so-called, and then take them out when there's their need, particularly when the definitive steel CDS were not ready for delivery. Say, for example, in many of the like Sha Tin or Mui Wo, the mobile post office, it must have been the same chop that they use. They just
they might be different. But for the earlier one, like the Cheung or Sha Tin, in fact, I've done a very rough comparison. It seems that there was only one in Sha Tin, and also there was only one in Cheung. But for the later one in the 1960s, I suppose it would be more than one.
Yeah.
And also for the material used for that skeleton CDS, and according to that article translated by Charles Chen, it mentions that it was made from steel. But according to another news clipping in 1946 or 48, it mentions that the post office made a batch of new CDS made from copper. So I'm not sure. In fact, those CDS were in fact made from steel or copper, because they are metallic, right? And I'm not sure how many people could identify that CDS whether it was made from steel or copper.
I think copper is a bit soft.
I don't know. Yeah. But for the purpose of using as a CDS, is it hard enough? I don't know.
Possibly maybe the back seals were made of copper, but I think these are all steel CDS, not hardened steel. Because anyway, I have not actually seen the actual date stamp in use. Let's hope that some some more senior collectors have seen these things. If they were used in in various post office like kind of before the 70s, 60s, 1960s. So I was too young. I haven't actually seen one actually in use. It's a very
Simon, that was very. So excuse me, Simon, that was very interesting and skillful. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
For the exhibition post office, I think for sure there was a different one used for registration and ordinary. So that I think that was clear, but of course can be checked, at least at the beginning. And I would have thought it would be quite interesting to check the usage of these things chronologically for all the different branch offices, and also internally for the post office, like for example the PMG hand stamp.
Same thing.
It would be quite an interesting study. And since, Simon, you've shown how skillful you are at this thing, I volunteer you immediately.
Well done.
In fact, someone has sent me some images. Andrew, is it Swato or Fuchao double ring? In fact, I've done some analysis, but I still do not have time to write up the conclusion.
Okay, I think we can discuss about that in the future.
And just off the top of my head, if, for example, in Cheung, let's say, if there was a separate ordinary mail and registered mail desk, then I find it hard to believe that they would use the same job.
But for the first Twin One branch post office, because I have no idea, and I have not seen any photo of it. I don't know whether it was so small that it contains only one
clerk.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah,
it's just only one postal clerk. There's one CDS would suffice. But if you have say Shangwan, I still remember going to the old Shangwan post office in the Morrison Street. I mean, it was dirty, it was old, but but you have several counters. I mean, it's not possible that you could have just one CDS and shared between clerks.
I think Manyi. There was a description of Manyi Arcade branch post office, and that used a skeleton, of course. And I think that description included how many counters there were.
Many. I think there are at least three or four counters. And
They
it's very
use the
busy.
skeleton as well.
Yeah, it was very busy post office. Anyway, okay, thank you, Simon. No further questions. We go on to the next presenter. Say, Susan, would you like to go first?
Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. This is, as it says, under franked airmail. And this is mail posted during the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s that was under franked. And this is how the post office dealt with it. They wanted to forward the mail with as little delay as possible. And so they put a hand stamp like this on the item and forwarded it. Said postage paid, Hong Kong. Might have air letter section or AMC or just a number on it. And then they tried to get the money back off the sender by sending a letter.
Mm.
This is an example, a letter that was unfranked, posted on the 8th of October 1980, and the postage paid hand stamp's been put on the 10th of October, so it's been delayed by 2 days. This was presumably done at the International Mail Centre, which had opened just a little earlier on the 31st of August. This is an early example of this particular hand stamp. There's similar ones recorded in Proud, dated 82 and 85, but not as early as 1980, but I'm sure there is an earlier one somewhere. One sent to Germany with a different hand stamp, this time with the air letter section on it, dated 1995. This one, Proud Records used 1994 to 96. And guess what? One from the Hong Kong Philatelic Society. So I'm sure someone must have one of these. Presumably under franked, so perhaps the editor was a little over enthusiastic and put an extra sheet or two in and went over the weight limit.
That was Axel.
Was it? I
Yeah,
thought it was a bit
me.
early for you, Andrew.
Yeah, a bit early for me, yeah. 92. Yeah, it was Axel.
Yeah. So posted on the 13th of January and it received the hand stamp on the 14th. So only 1 day's delay. Franked 170 and it should have been an extra 80 cents on there. How did they get the money back? Well, they sent out a little letter. This too I'm showing, 1974, 1975. This was an A4 sheet of paper printed on both sides and folded up. And then went through the post, this one to a Mr. Green. I presume that it was cancelled at Kowloon Central. It's too late for Kowloon Post Office and too early for the International Mail Centre. And Proud says that the machine cancels were transferred to Kowloon Central until the IMC opened. But he doesn't actually record this one. It's the slipped Kowloon one where it's over to one side. Open it up and you get this. And you've got a letter in English and the same in Chinese, side by side. And it says that this gentleman has sent an express airmail to Germany under franked. He sent it as a double weight when it should have been a triple weight. So he paid $2.60, 2 times 130, when he should have paid $3.90. And he didn't bother putting the express fee label on of $3. Now, what he should have done was stick the stamps on this section here, sign it, and then cancel them by writing his name and the date across the stamps. But as you can see, Mr. Green didn't bother doing it. So
Pocketed the card.
he got away with it. This is one where the person has been a little more honest. The professor, he's put his $1.50 in those spaces there, and he signed them and put the date. This sheet is similar to the other, but just a little bit different. I'll come to that in a moment. Now, the reason why the professor got this letter sent to him was because he'd sent an aerogram. If you look at the bottom, it says an aerogram containing an enclosure. So instead of the 50 cents, he should have paid $2, which was the letter rate. And that's the 150 that he's put on. Now, opened up, this second one looks like this. And there's the Chinese letter there. And then the address for the Postmaster General on this side. In other words, it hasn't got the same layout. Similar period, 74, 75, but it would appear that this has been printed from 4 plates. 2 plates have been fastened together to print one side, 2 plates fastened together to print the other side. And when a fresh order was put in, they fastened the plates together differently, so that the Chinese letter is on one side of the paper and the English letter is on the other side. So they are a little bit different. And that takes me to the end. Thank you.
Good. Okay.
Suzanne,
Right.
that was quite fascinating. That explains why we found stamps with a handwritten on it or signature on it, which have not been cancelled. So maybe there were stamps that were cancelled this way.
Yes.
Good question. Did the post office mail the letter, the original letter, whether it was paid or not, or did they? Or if it was not paid, in other words, if the form was not returned, they would trash the letter.
As far as I'm aware, they just forwarded it. And then once they'd made the note,
Fingers crossed.
the information, and they'd hope for the best. Yeah, they'd send the letter and hope that the sender was honest.
Okay, so they were mailing the letter anyway.
Yeah, they had to have the sender's address, of course.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, the one with the Philatelic Society, there's no problem at all. Actually, very interesting, Susan. I was just sitting by my desk. There was another one, which well, I don't know whether you can actually see it. This is the modern one version.
Oh, right.
And this is actually also from the I don't know. It's maybe a bit difficult to see. And air letter section.
Air letter section.
Long envelope, but this is after 1997.
97.
You can see the logo.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
It's a long envelope, and it is postage paid. Okay, you can see the postage paid there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it has a form similar to yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see this is actually, but it's a card now. It's actually
right.
Very
a
different.
Card in an envelope.
That's right. And explaining the number of letters, and in fact, to have the evidence, they actually sent you the photocopy of this. This is also the Hong Kong Philatelic Society. And you know, one of the letters is actually addressed to no other than Mr. Chris Norton.
Oh.
So he got his bulletin free, but yeah, unfortunately, very sadly, the editor, I mean, this time it must have been myself, didn't actually send it back. So you've got a card like that blank, and the scoundrel actually pocketed the card in his collection. So the interesting bit is that he has an address on the back, and it says the airmail section, airmail center. Yeah, that is the International Airport in
no, airmail. Yeah,
not Kai Tak. I think there was another card with Kai Tak, the earlier version before the airport moved. But yeah, this is the well, it seldom happens. I mean, obviously, the Hong Kong Philatelic Society is very honest and has been very honest. And we never do that kind of thing, but sometimes it did happen. So Chris has got a very interesting cover with the postage paid red chop on it.
Yeah, well, I did, yeah.
Anyhow, okay, thank you very much.
Andrew, I have a question. So for all those underfranked newsletters or bulletins sent from the society or from your good self, the receiver, the envelope for the receiver did not bear any postage still, right?
No.
That's why. That's the question I was always asking.
They think the standard.
Why there are so many underfranked mails from the society, but that always there's no postage still.
No, they got away with it in the past, but not anymore. Not anymore. I didn't actually see any more of these kind of things. I think you got blacklisted. You know, after you didn't pay. I'm not sure whether we got blacklisted now. We have been delisted from the blacklist, but I think at some point, I think we did get a postage due mark and the chop say insufficiently prepaid for airmail. It's quite interesting. Yeah. All right. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much, Susan.
Welcome.
What I'll do is I'll send a copy of this to Nick and maybe ask him to put it in the next newsletter. Yeah.
Yeah.
For everybody to see. It's very difficult to see it on the camera. Anyhow, but they're very interesting. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Susan. I think the next person, Richard has a few things you want to tell us, right, Richard? Oh, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Let me see if I can manage technology again. Okay, can we all see that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Just to show that I haven't been doing absolutely nothing in the last period when I couldn't attend, then I have found one or two things. They're nothing of huge importance, I don't think, but I just thought I would share them with you guys. So let's have a look, see what we can find. The first one is a Russell and Company Entire, 1845, which was sent through to Hong Kong and went on the Braganza P&O, of course, and to Calcutta, the Bentinck, and then the Oriental took it from Alexandria through to Southampton. Let me just do this with a gun soon. Arriving on the 24th, and then you can see the London marking, which is on the reverse of the 25th. And it was rated 1 shilling because there was no annotation on it, so it was sent on the slower route. But I guess the slightly interesting thing about this cover, or entire, sorry, is that this was the 4th westbound service by the P&O from Hong Kong. The first one, of course, was the Lady Mary Wood, which was 1st of September, and then the Braganza's first one, Lady Mary Wood's second one, and then this was Braganza's second voyage. So,
Richard,
Yep.
I think some of us might want to ask this question for a long time. Who actually put the 1 shilling annotation on the top right? Because it's unpaid.
I've
right?
always thought it was in London.
Okay. So the Hong Kong just throw all the unpaid mail into the mailbag and then send it off to London.
Yeah, they would have put it in the London mailbag, to go to be sent.
That's very okay.
Via Southampton.
Okay, but if it's a prepaid mark, obviously it would be Hong Kong, right? The Hong Kong clerk who put a red 1 shilling on it. That's very good.
Right.
I mean, people ask questions like, who actually put the unpaid mark on these things?
It logically it could only be in London.
It'd be in London, yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
That's a quite early example. Of course, the Frederick Huth correspondence is very well known and extremely extensive. So let's see what. Ooh. Okay, so here is one from 1848, sorry. And this is slightly more interesting. And it was sent by Georg Theodore Simpson. Well, Simpson was a well-known company for many, many years in Hong Kong, Canton, Shanghai, etc. Through until 1914. But this cover was sent from Canton 26th of February 1848. And this one went by the Lady Mary Wood, and then Bentinck, and then it got to Alexandria, and it was the mail for via Marseille was sent by the French steamer Clare to Malta, where the British packet, Oberon, took it from Malta to Marseille. In this particular case, the Oberon got hit by heavy weather, and she unloaded at Toulon. And then it was transshipped to Marseille, arriving there on the 20th. And the mail arrived in London on the 21st of April, which was Good Friday, Easter Good Friday. And therefore, the GPO stamped it the following day. It was rated 1 10p because, unlike the last one, this one was annotated via Marseille. This, I think, was the last westbound mail carried by the Lady Mary Wood. After this, she was moved on to the Shanghai, Hong Kong feeder route, for want of a better word. Now, one interesting thing about this cover is the oval company chart, of course. And this is the chart of G.T. Simpson Canton. And this predates all of the Simpson and Company markings. This company was established in 1849, and this was February 1848. And this marking was used by Georg Simpson before he established the company, and he was carrying out seasonal trade at Canton. He was only registered as a resident in China from 1849 onwards. He was the like China manager for the German company of Vidal, who worked closely with Hoot & Company in London. And they arranged with him for him to come out to China and establish trade and ultimately a company there and so on and so on. So there's slightly interesting cover. Okay.
Has that oval chop been recorded by Rod Sell?
No.
Ah, right. There's one more for the website.
Yep. Yep, for sure.
It's more. It's a company chop more than a forwarder chop, right?
Yeah, it's a company chop, sort of like
some company you use one chop for both forwarding and as a company chop.
Sometimes, but he was just operating out of one of the rooms in the Hongs in Canton. So
yeah, right.
At this point, he wasn't a big player.
Yeah, nice find. Yeah.
This one is an outer cover from Amoy. On the 2nd, it was 2nd of January, 1874, and sent to Calcutta. And this one went on the Douglas LePrake steamer Kwangtung, which departed Amoy on the 2nd and arrived Hong Kong 4th of January, 1874. And it was then put on board the P&O steamer Multan, which left on the 8th and arrived in Calcutta on the 27th of January. It's rated 8 cents, as usual. It has a Calcutta ship letter marking as a receiver and the Amoy type D2 in blue with the Hong Kong markings B62 and Hong Kong CDS in black. I haven't yet deciphered the seal marking. My eyesight's not as good as it used to be, but I didn't have, apart from all the kit and Culbertson correspondence, where there are quite a lot of this type of cover to the USA, of course, and some to Canada. Then this seemed a little bit more interesting of a commercial nature.
Yeah. But,
can I ask? It says via Gaul.
Yeah.
Which is Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Did the ship stop there on the way?
No.
Yes. Well,
I think it didn't. I think
some did and some didn't. I think in this case, I'm not sure.
I think what happened was the Point de Galle actually it's a terminal for P&O. So the Indian mail would have been offloaded at the Point de Galle, and they were put on local ships to various places. I mean, this is obviously to a steamer letter to Calcutta, and there would be maybe some to Madras and Bombay. So it would be, I think it would be a local steamer rather than actually the P&O. At first, very early, from a very early period, the P&O ship actually did, or the East Indian ship actually did stop at these various ports. But I think by this time, I think that the ship just went from Ceylon straight on to Suez, and then let the Indians sort it out. That's why you have the steamer letter Calcutta there.
This I checked. This particular letter did Multan did go to Calcutta.
Did it? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
It arrived in the evening of the 27th.
Okay. It did. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe what happened was the mail on the Multan that was to be transshipped may have gone on something else from Gaul
Yeah.
to Suez.
Mm-hmm.
And Multan carried on to Calcutta.
Yeah.
I can check that further. It's not a problem. Okay. So that was the old stuff. Then I got this one, which is an extremely cheap cover. And those who know this by air to Office of Exchange only is extremely common stamp. The only interesting thing about this from my personal perspective is that this is the earliest date that I have for this marking. And it would have gone on BOAC and on the 6th of September to London. I looked through all my files and everything yesterday, and I found one that predated this, or something, the 5th of August. And then the latest I have, which I have, is the 17th of August, 1948. So it was used for a year. But in late, mid 1948, the first one of these hand stamps was very misshapen. But then miraculously it straightened itself out. So it must have been a new stamp obtained by the post office and then used for a while. So there must be two different subtypes of this. But I only got that just, if somebody has earlier ones, then please show us next time or whatever. Perhaps a little bit more difficult to find is this Jusqua marking. Now this usually you will find by air to London only, but this one has no by. And it's not very easy to find. This, and the earliest that I've seen, like this one, the stamp is in violet, is the 22nd of August, 1947. And the latest is 29th of October, but that was in black for some reason. And here you can see that the rate is $1.30 plus 25 cents for registration. So this hand stamp was in use at the registered desk or desks, whereas the last one was the by air to Office of Exchange only, was the ordinary mail. And they're only 2 days apart. So just showing that they use different hand stamps on different desks. This particular letter would have been carried from London via Southampton on the Queen Mary.
You think, Richard?
Yeah.
You think there's a possibility that somehow the by air to London, the BY was cut off or lost, or
possibly?
Sounds a bit strange. Called air to London only.
Yeah. Quite possibly.
So it was damaged, and they just shave it off.
Possibly.
Mm,
Possibly. Not sure.
yeah.
I mean, I have a reasonable collection of these Jusqua markings, but I have never really sort of chronologically studied them.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps I should do. But
I think
it's just one of
Air
those.
to
One of
London,
those.
sorry, I was just going to say, I think Air to London would be considered perfectly idiomatic.
Indeed.
That's the only
Indeed.
one. There's only one known.
Yeah, all the rest are by air.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Before and after.
There's
Before and
possibly-
after.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit strange, but I mean, one way to do it would be the Simon method of getting the previous by air to London only.
Compare it, yeah. Overlay it,
compare
yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Good. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
And then the last one. Oh no, I put this one in. I don't know whether Ingo's there, but this is one of his dead country letter covers. Sorry, but it's also the air to London only.
Yeah.
I studied it quite carefully to see whether I could find any semblance of the bit of the buy.
Yeah.
But there isn't.
There isn't. Okay.
Again, this one fits in. This is 16th of September.
Okay.
Okay, and then finally, I recently was able to find one of these elusive covers. This cover was 27th of November 1940. Nothing really that special about that. But the rates of the paid here was $3.90, which equaled $3.65 plus 15 cents. Sorry, $3.65 plus 25 cents for the registration. And the $3.65 was a combined air and sea rate.
Yeah.
$3.50 for the Pan Am Air Trans-Pacific, and then the 15 cents to get it across the Atlantic by sea. And this superseded the $2.95 rate, which was the first combined or hybrid rate, which would have been $2.80 for the air and 15 cents for the sea. And that first was introduced in the 13th of June 1940. And funnily, I think I have seen more of the $2.95 ones, which was for a very short period of time, than these $3.65 ones. And after the $3.65, after the 1st of February 1941, the surface rate was increased to 20 cents. So then you get $3.70 combined rate. So start searching.
Yeah.
So this cover was departed Hong Kong on the Honolulu Clipper on the 3rd of December, arriving in San Francisco on the 11th. Funnily enough, after being delayed after its namesake at Honolulu. And then it was forwarded to the East Coast and onward by ship. And that was one of the ships in the Atlantic convoy HX 97. And this arrived in Liverpool on the 3rd of January, 1941. So that's it.
Good.
Richard, could you come back, please, on your first cover, the Simpson cover? I would like to make a few comments. No, the previous, yeah, this one.
This one,
No,
yeah.
no, the Simpson
Yeah, Simpson with the oval canton.
with the oval
and
marking.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. And you say that this marking is not recorded. So I would like to make
couldn't find it. I'm not saying, yeah.
No. And you're absolutely right. And you see, I've been recording over the year all security marking, which are applied obviously on adhesive. And that was prior adhesive, so they could not be a security marking. They were just an identification marking or an return address marking or something like that. Those have never been recorded. And maybe it's something that could be recorded, because over the year I have recorded security marking and forwarding agent marking. But there is a gap, and the gap are what I would call identification markings, and there are many and extremely interesting, and that in itself it's a subject of a study which I have not done, and I leave that to the new generation. That being said, you may have seen, if you look at the Hong Kong Study Circle website, that Frank Young has published in a new section called Hong Kong security markings. And the story behind that is that roads over the years, and that for many, many years, Road Cell from Australia had a website illustrating all the security markings that our group sent him. And I was maintaining all the listing of the security marking. And we feared that with time, this and with at some time, Rod would be able to do it anymore, and the website would disappear. And years of work would have disappeared, which would have been a pity. So Rod agreed and Frank agreed to transfer this website on the Hong Kong and Hong Kong Study Circle website. So it is done. We test. It was a few problems initially, but now everything is working. So if you go to the Hong Kong and Study Circle website, you are going to see this mass of information concerning security marking and forwarding agents.
Well done. Thank you. Thank you, Rod and Frank, for the hard work.
I think I looked at the Rod Cell's listing, and this one is not there.
No, Rod never did any listing. I did the listing. Rod, I've illustrated the listing, and with all the scan we sent him. And and is why I say on those listings I have concentrated only on security marking and forwarding agent, but not on firm chops like the one you have been illustrating, and that may have to be done by someone.
Okay, thank you.
If I just offer a comment on the marking that was started off in violet and ended up in black. It may well be, this is not really postal history, but it may well be that it's because it was in black, it disappeared, because black ink suggests that they actually started using the regular postmark ink, which is oil-based. Violet ink is usually used with polymeric hand stamps, and an oil-based ink will dissolve the hot polymeric hand stamp, basically, which is why if you like British county postal history, you get all sorts of weird and wonderful shaped climax markings, which are rubber markings.
Yeah, thanks. If I remember correctly, that 29th of October 1947 one, the stamp was not in good condition. It was not. It was very ugly stamp.
Distorted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So smudged
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
Common. They
Reflect.
use the ink pad, the ink pen for the date stamp, which is oil based, and it's just the kerosene or whatever they put in the organic solvent just dissolve the rubber. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Yeah. Right. Okay. Anybody got anything to show? Okay. Well, I'm showing something. Malcolm Hammersley dropped by the other day, and he gave me this envelope, this big envelope from a certain institution in London, and it's obviously it contained a newsletter or the journal or whatever, and it's a big packet, and it got damaged en route. And he said, I mean, he obviously probably didn't get much mail in recent years, but he's actually shown me of this tape. Can you see this tape? This sellotape with the Hong Kong Post new logo and bilingual and sealing that, and also with a little label. This is actually from the this label here. Okay, with the GPO, it says what does it say? Yeah. We regret that this item was received in damaged condition. Please accept our apologies for any inconvenience caused. And it's actually dated. The label actually says May 2005. So they've probably been using this tape for a long time, and certainly post 97. Anyway, that's a little thing, okay, that he wanted to show. Right. Okay.
Andrew, if you go to the Hong Kong and Study Circle, you will see a monograph that I did on received damage. And there is a listing of an illustration of all the different tape that have been produced.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. I'll let him know. Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay. So let me see. So I might. Okay. So let's see. Now this is can you see this? Right. Okay. Now this is more of a reports than some sort of serious research on the things I'm going to show. So I mean, I'm just basically showing some recent. I think within the last couple of months, the stamps and covers that came up on either on the internet. So this one, okay, the first one I don't know whether you actually went on eBay, and you can see there's a piece of the Hong Kong Post Office 1841 with the one cut out and with the manuscript 2 written on it. Very rare. There's only about four pieces known, and then there's 9 letters, which I think Richard would probably tell you. But whether this is genuine or not, it needs to be closely examined by the experts, because as you can see, actually forgeries of this mark do exist. And this was actually some years ago that we found that on the internet, and that was actually on the HKPS website. This is just an imitation of the real thing, and obviously completely wrong. The date is wrong, and it's not never in black. And if it were genuine, it would be the second example known of the 1841 hand stamp. So this is, well, don't know, not sure about that. It needs to be examined by the expert. It could be genuine. Yeah.
Sorry. I think I mentioned to you a while ago. On these pieces, there are two different 2s.
Yeah.
And this looks very similar to the more common one. The same too.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
might help its credentials.
Yeah, it could be genuine. No, but the thing is, it's impossible to tell on the scan on the scan. Okay,
That's
so
right.
yeah, so it's reasonably cheap. I mean, you know, obviously people have doubts and you know didn't bid too much on it. Anyway, the second one, this is from a local auction, and I haven't actually recorded this this letter with the Royal Arms. It was sent, it arrived in December 1843, so it was sent maybe in the summer of 1843. And it's got a nice, well, reasonable example of the Royal Arms. It's got an oval India mark, probably the Bombay mark. And I think the reason why it made this price is not because of the Royal Arm, it's probably of this so-called the tombstone marking here, which I think nowadays, I think how many copies? Maybe about 8 or 9 copies are known. So I think Hammond Giles thought that it was an Indian mark, but somehow Mick Goldsmith thought that it could have, or Lee Scamp as well, thought that it could have been a Hong Kong mark. Obviously, you know, Richard probably knows more about this, and he'll probably do some kind of research or talk on this kind of marking. Anyway, it's very, very interesting. Not in the best of condition, but I'm pretty sure that people pay this kind of price for this rather than just the Royal Arms, which they are quite number known. Okay, now this is
going back to your last one. All I can say is that all examples of tombstone went via Bombay.
Yeah.
And there was some correspondence between the Bombay postal authorities and the Hong Kong ones.
Yeah.
Demanding that they showed something like this. Actually, it was in another form. And as usual in those days, people did the opposite.
Yeah. So you think you think it's a Hong Kong mark or Indian mark? Or you want to let us know in future?
I'm not. You can't prove it one way or the other. But Hong Kong was requested to do this.
Yeah.
Whether they did or not.
Yeah, it's very unusual. The Hong Kong that actually use Anna. You know, these are 2 and 3 Annas.
Yeah, that's just the way that it was collected up between the Indian.
Yeah. Anyhow,
post people.
That's very interesting, and there is a certain collector in Hong Kong that would like to round up all these examples. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, okay, this one. This is another cover addressed to the USS Hartford in Hong Kong. It has a forwarding agent mark of Thomas Hunt. And you've got the 1857 issues, perforated issues of the 1 cent Franklin and 3 cent Washington, paying the local rate. It's very difficult actually to decipher this one, but it so happened that in John Bull they've got a similar cover with a better chop. Chop here is actually Terre Haute in Indiana. So this is Terre Haute, whatever, yeah, French. So it was actually sent to New York, and then it went on to Cunard and to the UK, and then it went by P&O Southampton to Hong Kong, and then this 1 shilling 2 is the postage, well, postage to collect or postage due. Interestingly, this November, this is actually July. And in December, actually, it went down. Obviously, the shilling was the postage rate from Southampton, and the rest must be the transatlantic portion of postage. Also interesting is on the back, I hoped that it could have been the type 12 because it's 1859, but it isn't. It is a type 13. It's a new single ring hand stamp without the hyphen between the G and K. It's not common. I mean, it's because it was only used for like 6 months before they introduced type 14 with a hyphen between the G and K. All right. Okay. So the next one is another letter sent from Hong Kong to London by the French packet at the correct shilling for rate. It's interesting that I went to look up the daily press, and the ship was the Hoodley, which it's actually from the Possessions Maritime, Imperials or Maritime, the French mail boat company. They advertised for the Hoodley to be loading and depart on the 25th, but it was somehow delayed, and the post office actually notification here that the Hoodley having been postponed until the 26th. So this letter actually was mailed on the 25th and just made the sailing, and it's just to prove that the Hoodley actually went from Whampoa, arrived in Hong Kong on the 18th and departed on the 26th. Okay, so right. So the next one, actually, this is a little bit surprising that it fetched over £900 for the D28 on the 10 cents on 24. I don't know. I mean, I don't particularly worry too much about the stamp itself, but whether it is very rare actually on the 10 on 24 cents. But you can actually see the CC watermark. What is a little bit worrying is that it is very lightly struck, although from the front you can actually see quite clearly, but on the reverse actually you can hardly see the hand stamp at all. So I just wonder, I mean, that it might need to be examined by the expert to see whether this is actually a genuine mark. But I suppose the 10 cent on 24 cent is still a very valuable stamp. So I mean, it would be a little bit silly to put a fake D28 mark on it. But anyway, there's quite a good price for it. Okay, now this one, very interesting, and it could have been too good to be true. It's a 5 cent on 18 cent postal card with N1 from Ningpo via Shanghai with the S1 overstruck, and it has a Ningpo CDS. It's got a Shanghai transit and a band arrival. A little bit unusual, but it's got a Hong Kong a transit on the back. This is actually very interesting. I'll leave you to decide if you study closely whether this is genuine or not. But certainly, I think for a genuine card like that, I thought $2,700 is a little bit too cheap. So anyway, I suppose another job for the expert to find out whether this is okay or not. Right, this is another example of a very rare hand stamp, the Shuttlecock X with an X at the bottom, and you can see this is genuine because you can see the ink actually seeping through the back of the adhesive, and it has got a good RPSL certificate, and I think it went quite cheap because I mean the seller actually put another example. This could have been sold by Spink, I think, for $65,000. So I mean for $1,600 is fairly cheap for this stamp, especially with a good certificate. Anyhow, so this is an interesting cover from Swatow, the double ring hand stamp, to Vermont, and then you can actually see this is actually one of the scarcer. Is an index A. The index A is less common than the. It comes in A, B, C, and D. Sorry, go back. Yeah, and there are two versions. There's the one with the shorter bar and one with the longer bar. They're actually two CDS. So there are also examples with a bar between the index letter to stop it moving around. As you can see that from here, the index A is actually towards the right-hand side. It's actually moving around without the two stoppers. And sometimes later they actually put in two stoppers on right and the left of the index letter to make it central. Okay, the Silver Jubilee first day cover. You know, this is the well-known version. Very, you know, the market value is very high. Don't know why. There quite some of them around. But anyway, very well sought after by first day cover collectors. As you can see, £620. But this is only a front with the stamp missing. And I mean, I wouldn't if you didn't actually read the description carefully. I mean, you would have thought that it's a nice cover, but it's not. I mean, the seller did actually write in small print. It's only a front, and he actually showed the back of the front, or the back of the back of the front one. Yeah, and it's not a complete cover, but I think maybe 620 is a little bit dear for this one. And this is actually his complete cover, registered cover, with not an illustrated one, but it still fetch $500 something. Okay, the next one actually it's the so-called the China Philatelic Association first day cover of the silver wedding. One is the registered, and the other is just a plain one. Actually, it looks quite strange that the plain one is actually people pay more than the registered version. But I assure you that actually most of these covers people would have registered it because of the high value. The $10 stamp is a very expensive letter to send. In those days, you seldom get handbag. And maybe this one's a handbag because he was a very well-known stamp dealer. I don't know. It could have been a handbag. It would be a bit too risky just to send it by mail. Right. Huge price paid for first day covers of the QE 1954. Definitives. This is the more common one with the design, but this is still fetched £650. It had a little vertical fold here. It's not the prettiest cover, but the most amazing thing is the postage is £54. I mean, wow, you know what? that's very expensive for postage. Okay, so the next one is the let me see, okay, so this is actually another first day cover of the 1954 issue, the complete set. But the most interesting point actually is the person who received it is actually Mr. L.T. Ride. You know, he's actually I did a bit of research. He's actually brigadier. Actually, at that time, he was Lindsay Ride. He wasn't actually knighted at that time. It was 1954. He was knighted. He was knighted later. He received his. He's got amazing guys. He's an Australian who came to Hong Kong in 1928 after working in London as a doctor in the Guy's Hospital. And he was appointed professor of physiology at the Hong Kong University. And he was in the Hong Kong Volunteer Defense Corps and commanded the Hong Kong Field Ambulance during Japanese invasion. He was put in the Sam Shui Po camp. He's escaped to Chongqing in 1942, and where he became a colonel in the Indian Army and commanded the British Army 8 Group in Kwai Ling. And he has a nickname, the Smiling Tiger. And he was made the commander of British Empire in 1944 after the war. And then after the war, he came back to Hong Kong, and he was appointed the vice chancellor of the Hong Kong University from 1949 to 1964. And he actually died in Hong Kong in 1977. So he's quite an interesting man. And then this is actually,
there was a lot of correspondence.
Yeah.
On eBay.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody got
somebody in Toronto.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody from Toronto. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So this one actually is correct now. He's got Sir Lindsay Wright, because by 1962 that he received his KBE, the Knight of the British Empire. So he's actually got the letter Sir there. Same thing, but it's another first aid cover, and he fetched quite a good value, like $1,000 US. Right. This I thought Ingo would be here, but obviously he probably has got other engagement. This is the very rare Manyi Arcade, you could call it temporary registration label or whatnot. And there are actually two versions. There's one printed on white paper, and you can see the number is actually different. And this is actually on the bluish paper for the airmail correspondence. In fact, both of them are ex-Peter Scheck. So one sent to Taiwan, and the other it's sent to Mui Wo. So it's got Mui Wo back stamp. Very, very rare. Fetch a hell of money, like 500 US dollars. But they're quite scarce, despite being philatelic. So this one, Harmon would be interested in this. This is a fly. It is a government slogan, because the fly actually carried the bacteria. You could have fly to spread cholera and things like that. 1962, and this is actually a rubber hand stamp, well sought after by collectors. And there's also one with a bigger fly. There's a big one, the big cachet, which was used in can't remember, Simon Bobby and Lighton. There was one recently in an auction, in a local auction, big fly, and it fetched a lot of money. Okay, I think that's all I have to report. I mean, as I say, I didn't actually. I only did it today because of Typhoon Signal 8, and I hope you like what's there. Anyway, any comments? But just stop sharing.
Andrew,
Yes.
please go back to the page with the silver wedding first day cover.
Okay. Okay. Silver wedding. Yeah.
Yes. Can you see the difference between the two covers, except for the registered and the ordinary? If I remember correctly, there are 3 versions of this CPA.
Oh, right, really? Yeah.
First day cover, and the
you can.
Your top one is the letters are in red color.
Yeah.
So red, and the lower one is in blue. So these are the 2 versions. So I suppose the one of them is scarcer than the other one. So
Yeah. You're right.
it may
you're
be
right,
that
you're right.
reason for the difference in the price.
You're quite right. The silver wedding is different. The color.
Yeah.
The one is actually silver or blue or whatever. The other is red. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Right. Okay. Good.
Can you go back to your, I can't remember which one it was, about the third slide.
This
Keep
one?
going. One more. Yeah, that
Yeah.
one. We'll go forward one.
One more.
No.
This one?
Next one. Yeah.
Okay.
I noticed that these covers are numbered.
Number 2, yeah.
And
Number
the one on the is number 2, and the other one is number 10.
Number 10, yeah.
So just an
It's also
observation.
one printed and one's by hand.
Yeah. So obviously, they organize themselves better.
Yeah. Can you find out the difference in the rate? Because I mean that looks like is a tuppence transatlantic, and there's only 1 penny, or they have already by that time they've already lowered the transatlantic rate or whatever.
I think they regularized it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the 1, right? 1 shilling, 1 shilling 1.
1 shilling. Yeah.
1 shilling 2. Yeah. It's kind of quite neat, and there's a big correspondence. And then and nobody at the auctioneer actually never. I think none of these 2 people. I mean, obviously the seller here with an internet seller, I couldn't read the postmark, and of course John Boo actually didn't even bother to describe the postmark. But it's a quite interesting tale. It's quite interesting place near in Indiana.
Because Thomas Hunt.
Yeah, Thomas Hunt. Yeah.
Interesting character.
Yeah.
But he operated principally out of one poem.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So,
right. Let me just go.
Nice.
Stop share. Right. Okay. So, anything else? Anybody got anything to show or any comments before we take the summer break for August? Unfortunately, we won't be able to meet in August because that there's a stamp show in Taiwan, which I shall be there. So unless I actually find somebody who can host the Zoom, and then I'm going to give it a break for a month.
I have one question, if I may.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Are the Hong Kong Post Office records anywhere available to research?
You mean the actual? You mean
things like the 1880 leaflet of listings, that sort of thing?
You have to write and ask. I think it's probably all there, but the people are probably too busy to even have a catalog of what they've got. And
right.
You have something specific that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Well, I'm interested in the 2 cent fiscal, the purple one. I found something interesting in the British Library, and it implies that it was intended for use postally more than the very brief period mentioned in Gibbons.
Yeah.
And you do see it postmarked with a wide variety of dates.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if there's anything in the Hong Kong Post Office records.
You can write to them and ask whether they still kept any records. But I've got a feeling that because of the war and things like that, they could have destroyed quite a bit.
Yeah.
You know, the
from
Japanese
from my own experience, that era of information, the Hong Kong Post Office, forget about it.
Yeah.
The way that you can do it is through newspapers, because all of the information was published in newspapers.
Right, and that
So
archive is available on the internet.
That's correct. It's the Hong Kong Library online resource.
Yeah.
MMIS, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And if you look in there, you might find it. Alternatively, you can. I don't think that particular case would have been gazetted, but if you look on the Hong Kong University website, then you can find all of the gazettes.
Oh, right.
Online.
Thank you.
Apart from that, of course, there's the Hong Kong Public Record Office, but they have an online catalogue which you can look at. But then if you want anything off it, you can write to them and they'll charge you for the copy or whatever. Or you go to the facility in Kwun Tong yourself.
Yeah.
Or you pay Andrew to go to Kwun Tong.
Good. Come and visit me.
I'm that rich.
Yeah, come and visit me. I'll take you out for a drink. Drinks on me. I think it's very difficult to actually get anything out of Hong Kong Post nowadays. You know, they could have still have kept the records, but you know, the thing is, nobody actually knew where they were. I mean, you know, they're not going to allow you to go to their archive and check it out. So there could be all sorts of things, or they could have been destroyed.
It may be worth asking them, because a few months ago, I wrote to the Museum of History in Hong Kong to ask them whether they could send me details of the 1841 Post Office Hong Kong cover that they have.
Yeah.
And I got an answer back. They were quite good about it all. It took some time. And now I've been redirected to another young lady to ask whether they could scan it or check the inside, because all we have is the Ishikawa picture of the front of the cover. It looks like an entire, actually. So if it's an entire, there's stuff on the inside, and there's stuff on the back. So I'm halfway through that process, but it is a little bit pulling teeth. But
by the way,
it's possible.
By the way, the Owen item actually belonged to the Hong Kong Post, because there was a fight.
Yes, that's. I've been given the contact lady.
Yeah, and when it came for sale, there was a fight whether the Museum of History should have it or the Post should have it, but because it is not 1841. So the Post, this is our earliest known correspondent, so we must have it. So I was actually in the sale, when it came up for sale, I was the Hong Kong Post advisor. So actually, I couldn't stick my hand up. See, so I think the Hong Kong Post got it cheap, because several of the would-be buyers were in the advisory group, so we couldn't stick our hands up and bid against the whole Post. So anyway,
but the reason that I was asking for information on two of these covers, one 1841, the other one 1842, and I've now got two separate contacts.
Yeah,
because one facility has one cover and the other one has the other. But because I was always interested in that 1841 cover, because There's a lot of interesting things about it, and it was sent to the second in command of Elliot's yacht, who died when there's of course a famous incident when Elliot and Bramer were shipwrecked, and then they were found by villagers and returned after some robbery to Macau. But the gentleman who, Owen, he died in that shipwreck. So when the cover came, then he was presumably dead. So what happened to that cover is interesting.
Right, good. Well, we look forward to your article in the journal. Yeah.
Maybe.
Anyway, yeah. Thank you very much. So yes, I think we have a very, very interesting morning or afternoon or evening today, and I wish you all well. And it's time for me to say good night and goodbye, and I'll see you in September. Right, and you should be able to receive your journal within maybe a couple of weeks, and I'm going to post them tomorrow when the weather gets better. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much for listening and sharing your nice material, and I'll see you in September. Okay. Good night. Good morning. Have a nice day. Bye bye. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.